If you have passed matric, it means you are now useless the entire life. Now, what we need to do is to introduce what we call a people's education that is spiritually driven. And that education, it will then remove all these children in the corners. It will remove all these children from shebeens, because the issue of shebeens today, because these children, what do they do? How frustrated they are, they end up drinking liquor. They end up thinking that they are equals with their parents because of the same system of governance of the colonialists. In our situation of United Kingdoms of Africa, would be re-educating our children in the context of being the pride of the continent.
You know.
Responsible. These are the children who are going to be the leaders of the continent, who are going to be future leaders of this continent, who are going to be educated to know what is their role.
So there could be someone sitting out there at home,
yes,
hearing all these beautiful ideas, and
yes,
they're wondering, how can we become part of this kingdom? How do we enroll? How do we participate?
We are now officially United Kingdoms of Africa as the sovereign states of the continent. We are now going to come out officially and introduce the United Kingdoms of Africa to the people of this continent. Not only South Africa, but the whole of Africa, where we'll have a synod, where we come together and launch the parliament and launch United Kingdoms of Africa. That's where, you know, the kings, as I said, these are the custodians of the very same United Kingdoms of Africa. These are the kings who are going to be spiritual fathers of these churches, because we are going to have branches, the whole of the continent, and out of the churches, that's where they will be learning about how they should conduct themselves. And out of that, the education system would be linked with the spirituality, with our systems of governance. Out of that, we'll then be able to create a nation of people who do not dwell into sin, a nation of pure people, a nation of people who are connected with heaven.
You are in trouble, Honorable. You are in trouble, Your Royal Majesty.
Why is
because your trouble is some of the kings and chiefs whom we have on the table right now are cosmetic kings.
I think it's a good question.
They went on into assuming positions under the colonial system.
Yeah, what we are going to do.
How are you going to fix that?
Yeah, we'll differentiate, because these kings that are being put by the colonialists, who do not have the indigenous connection.
They don't have royalty.
Absolutely.
They don't have royalty. They're not the rightful heirs.
Unfortunately, we'd have to remove them from the system. What we are going to do, we are going to deal and re-establish the original indigenous kings who are connected with God.
Do we have the software to do that?
Yes, we have it, but you are in charge of it, don't forget again.
Because I mean, you would find men of these political circles.
We do have.
Where we have this, I'm chief so and so.
No,
I'm royalty so and so.
No.
And you know that actually.
Because the software of it, remember what I said. As I said, you have it. Remember what we said. For you to be able to be a king, you must be appointed in heaven. For you to be a king, you must govern by the systems of heaven, the spirituality systems. Because when you are not connected spiritually, you are not going to get directives from heaven. A king must be somebody who is getting directives, because you are an ambassador on earth as a king. You are here just to execute what needs to be done on earth from heaven. You are the eyes, you are the ears and the mouth of the gods. You are nobody but just an ordinary ambassador on behalf of the gods. So if you are not connected, then you are not supposed to be among our midst, because you are then placed by the gangster of Lucifer.
Give us a breakdown, Bayete, a breakdown of your calendar in 1 year. What should we anticipate? When do we start our year? what do we celebrate and what do we do, so that we can begin to think.
I like that one. I like that one.
You know,
September is the key.
September is key.
Absolutely.
Uh-huh.
That's where in September, when I remember Bhungane, people used to come to Bhungane, the 2nd and the 1st, and they would say, we came to ask for your blessings, to bless whatever that we're going to be harvesting, seeds, for them to be able to multiply. So when the harvesting time starts, that's where everything starts. You understand? So everything is determined by that, not the calendar of the colonialists, not the calendar where we are told Christmas is the 25th. If we go back to our ancient times in Ethiopia, if we go back to our ancient times of Egypt, if we go back to our ancient times, we would understand that we have no connection with the calendar of the Europeans, of the pagans.
Okay, so we're going to have a bit of the September month,
absolutely,
which is the beginning of the year,
absolutely,
and then fruits and everything else.
First fruits, and then we would have also other things that we'll be dealing with in terms of the rites of passages of Umhlanga.
Usually, which months are those ones?
Yeah, it depends.
Towards winter.
Towards winter. For an example, what we would be going towards winter to talk to the God. The God of our ancestors, because the mistake that we are being perceived as if we are praying ancestors, then we forget to say these ancestors are the children of the God. That's why we say the God of our ancestors. Then what we will do, we will then converge and go and speak to him during the Mhlanga. And also, we also go to the rivers and speak to our gods. These are different months. For example, the winter time, spring, what we refer spring or autumn, whatever, all those things. Now, these are the times that we meet with the gods, and then we talk to the gods. Then we speak to the gods of the winds, the gods of the sun, the god of the rain.
The rains.
Yes, all those gods.
And connect.
Because these are people that, thus in the Bible when he says, let us, he never said, let me. He was talking to all these designated gods who are part of the royal council to say, let us make humans in our form. So we will then ask his permission as the creator to do all these things, including the launch of the United Kingdoms of Africa. We will then seek his permission. He's the one who's going to tell us
the dates,
when, the place, and how we should do it, how we should conduct these systems, and then also of appointments I was given that directives. Officers, I was given that directives to say today, that's why I'm wearing like this. I was given that directive to appoint you as the Archbishop today.
Almost.
It was not my decision, but it is the decision of the gods and the God of our ancestors. You're amazed.
There's enough happening in this studio to cause my mind to fly from the east to the west while I'm listening to the greater space.
And just before you continue, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Embo is not a kingdom that was put together by people who do not connect with God. It is a kingdom that is connected with heaven.
With God. And this is a big kingdom.
It's a big.
We all of the Bantu
Absolutely.
nations
It is not
can
just
align
a small
themselves
kingdom.
with.
Absolutely. That's I'm saying I'm just the mere ambassador to execute the directives from upstairs. That's all.
Wow. What a collection.
And no man can remove me except the Creator.
The one who put you.
The one who puts me on the chair.
My word. My word. We are here sitting at the footstool of King Bhungane III, taking us through the paces of the Greater Uka, United Kingdoms of Africa. This will see the kings of Lesotho, kings of Swaziland, kings of South and Southern Africa, kings of Zimbabwe, Angola, Congo, Nigeria, Uganda, Burkina Faso, Somali, Senegal, Cameroon, all of you guys who are there with your royal houses, we suggest that we begin to have a conversation of unity, a conversation of consolidation of power, where all the royal houses can come together and we can begin a fruitful conversation that discusses African agriculture, African spirituality, and the entire governance systems, and how can we move and make our presidents accountable to the royalties. For these remain the rightful owners of the land, the rightful owners of the cultures, the custodians of the history from whence we are coming from. And this program has been brought to you by Galaxy Universal Network, exploring the possibility of UCA, United Kingdoms of Africa, together with AIM, African Indigenous Movement, and how we can begin to consolidate the greater houses of power in the greater African continent. You have some few moments, Your Royal Highness, to give us some key statements in terms of your making a call to the greater African continental kings, and what do you want to see them happening. When we come back after the break, the king will be responding, and then we'll be concluding our last episode. I thank you.
Wait.
Feel the heat.
You said you love me. I do.
You sure?
Yeah.
Leave my house and go.
Oh, no, you don't. Get out of my way. Get out.
That is an abomination.
Oh, the love you promised me.
Do you have a boyfriend? Yeah?
Feel the excitement.
You don't know how I've been longing for this.
Feel the heat with Starsat.
China's saying that the latest outbreak is under control.
Feel the heat.
The cabinet has decided to ease restrictions on certain other economic activities.
I don't want to be a white person who sits by and does nothing, so that's why I'm here today.
Feel the excitement.
We are here to unite, because what we are fighting for is to stop institutional racism.
Feel the heat with Starsat.
Welcome back one, welcome all here on your program Sankofa with your host Maponga J, your guest of honor today, His Royal Highness King Bhungane III. On your program here on Sankofa, we were exploring the greater expanse of the UCA organization, United Kingdoms of Africa, and how we can begin a conversation in terms of actually challenging the present status quo and building a system for us as Africans that will work for us. We have looked at agriculture, we've went on to look at culture, we've done a bit of education, we've looked at our cultural calendar, we've looked at governance issues, we've looked at commercial issues and youth development programs, women, their position into this greater space. But maybe just while we are doing the last conclusion, people who, remember, governance and political social issues are like drugs. There are people who are so drunk with this democracy that when you begin to talk about a social re-engineering story, that we can do things differently because of the amount of distance we've already covered into a colonial system. Bearing in mind it's 400 years old, this system that we're dealing with. How gently can we begin to talk to our people and educate them to align them with a new structure, which is an old structure actually, that you're trying to orient us back to?
I think it has to do with also re-education of our people. When we engage them in our private spaces, when we engage them in seminars, when we engage them in conferences, when we engage them, you know, in our traditional affairs, people, because if you can look at people today, they are tired of what is happening. They do not want to be connected with anything that has to do with the colonial system of governance. You would see our children today, they are going to Europe with dying on shores. People are tired because they're seeing these things. We have politicians who are being put into position of power, and these are people you end up hearing at the commissions where they would be wanting to empower their families, and they use people to do door-to-doors for them, and then when they've won the elections, they then go and get their families to be empowered. So people are tired of these things. Now what we need to do is to re-educate our people, as we are doing today, to say, stop following these criminals. Stop following these people who are using you, who come with food parcels to lure you to vote for them. It is not about voting. It is about the ownership, because you are the owners of this land. You are the rightful indigenous people who control the wealth of this country, not people who come and go after 5 years, you understand? Because if you can look at the system of governance today, who do they report to? After stealing, how much money are we listening that they've stolen? How much money that is missing from the SOEs, and then they are doing nothing about it? How much money? Last time it was the previous president that we were told he has stolen money. Now is the new system, hardly a year. How much money that has got lost from the SOUs?
What has disappeared under Ramaphosa?
Absolutely.
It makes what Msholozo is accused of look like a drop in the bucket. I mean, how do you disappear?
Not even in the ocean, in the bucket. Absolutely.
Billion.
And nobody's saying anything.
And you are suing this other guy for 60 million.
Absolutely, we understand. So I think it is upon us to educate our people, to talk about not a new dawn of criminals, but a new dawn. You know, a new dawn of a system that is going to change the lives of our people. A new dawn that is going to be able to cater for our children. Not a system that where our children are going to be having problems to go to schools and universities. Where a system where they are told that this is a new democracy. But at the same time, our people still staying at the same places where they are still staying. They are suffering. We are talking about a system of governance where every child who is born
on the continent
is going to be the owners of the minerals, are going to be the shareholders of these minerals. We are talking about a system where every child becomes a billionaire. And that's possible. Let me tell you, if it is, they were able to do it with only oil at United Arab Emirates, what is wrong with us in the continent? You understand? And what we need to do is to come up with a system of that differentiates between us. I'm not being segregative.
No, don't apologize.
Absolutely.
Because economics is segregation.
Absolutely.
Yes. You cannot walk up to the bank as a black person and you expect to be treated the way a white man walks into the bank.
Now we are going to create a system where it will be differentiating between us as the owners,
the indigenous,
and the passerbys.
Tourists.
Yes, as tourists, because this is the problem. Today, if you look at the land that, of the continent, it's owned by tourists. How painful it is that. It is owned by passerbys. They come... Illegal immigrants who came here and found us here, and they go around and say they did not find anybody here. And they are saying, and say they are the owners of this land. Now, this is an insult to us as the people of this continent. It is to reclaim and re-educate our people to say it is about you. It is not about them.
When me and you get to London, King Bhungane, one of these days, I want us to go and rename the River Thames.
Yes. You will immediately go to jail.
No, I want us to do it arrogant.
They will immediately take you to jail because you know what? You have no right
Of what?
Over their jurisdiction.
Then why do they come to
Absolutely.
Africa and then you name Orange River, you name Victoria Falls,
It's true.
you name our
Now,
own places according to your own gods? Why can't we go to Europe and name the river Rhines?
And
say
then
it's no longer Rhines River, so follows.
look at a place called Brayton. Brayton, not Brayton. Brayton in Mpumalanga, not far from where we are.
Yes.
Do you know that place was named after one of the people who were fighting against the British in the Anglo-Boer War, who lost his leg? They honored him with that particular place to be named after him.
And there's a place in London, New Brighton.
Absolutely.
There's a Brighton, actually.
Absolutely.
There's Brixton here,
Yes.
in Joburg. There's
Yes.
Brixton out
Yes.
there. There's Salisbury there. There's Salisbury here. The streets are all... And the arrogance. I'm looking at the arrogance of colonialism to come to Harry Smith and Elikwa, and then they name the place. Totally to disregard that you are not there. Now it's going to be called Hendrina.
We are told it's Hendrina. We are told it's Val River. Now these are things that we need to re-educate our children and say, rename and restore your dignity as the people of, because these people found you here. They come here and want to twist our history. I hope in the next discussion we must talk about the originality of the Khoi and the Sens, because these are the things that are confusing us. Today we are told these are the first people, these are the first nation. In the true sense, they are not. I want us, please, if you allow me, to be dealing with this particular aspect in the next discussion about the Khoi and the Sens. Because we have been confused to say these are the first people. Meanwhile, these criminals, when they are shipwrecked in the Western Cape, when they found the people who were nomads like us, who came from where we came from, in the Congo, when in the Embo, as they were moving down, they arrived and found these people, and automatically, because they met, this criminal met these people who are Khoi, and then we are then told these are the first nation. That's not true. I want us to have a discussion on this thing, because we are the first people. When they arrived, when their ship was wrecked in the Western Cape there, were they able to know who was inland at that time?
When they arrived?
When they arrived, no. So I want us to have a discussion on that. So going back to the issue of education, it's the same thing that we are being misled and misguided to be told. Histories that these are the first people, these are the first nation, these are the first people that were created by God. Let me tell you, I want us to have this discussion, because today we are told the language that is spoken by the very same people that we are told are the first people. It is spoken by the people who are being referred as the Hadza people in Tanzania today. These people, when you call them the Hadza, these are Hadzabe people. When in Swati, how do you pronounce? Hadzabe. And they speak the very same language. When you go, you know, when I was invited by the king of Morocco, they took us to a place and they gave me a book. I want to bring that book also to share that with you. All these caves that we are told these are caves that were drawn by the Khoisan. That's a nonsense story, because in Sub-Sahara you find people who were there, they call them the Bambe people. And when you are there, you are told these are the people who were responsible for these writings in these mountains. But because we do not want to read
that proper history, and our so-called leaders today in power do not even want to interrogate the originality of this historical narrative.
They agree to say, yes, these are the first people. Another thing that we need to deal with is that logo, or that emblem, what do they call it? That coat of arms.
Yes,
we need to revisit that coat of arms. Because that, it gives the authority to the wrong people. These are things that we need to look at. Now, that's the type of education that I want us to engage in the in the continent, where we go around the continent and reclaim our birthright and reclaim our history as the people of this continent.
Wow.
The other thing that I would like to talk about, also the people of the diaspora, our people, come back now. It's time. It's time for us to take over. It is time for us to unite. It is time for us to make sure that we rewrite the history that was written by the colonialist. We must take charge of our destiny.
All the Africans in diaspora, the issue is that you link up with the Embo Kingdom. Our details and their details will be flowing at the bottom here. Call them in, send us your CV, your profiles, and exactly what you're doing in your organization. And let's see how we can take your skills and then marry them with the projects that are on the ground and begin to have this conversation at a higher level where we as the greater African nations can begin to maximize on our academic qualifications and our skills which we have gathered while we're in the quote-unquote first world, and bring back these skills onto mainland. And people such as King Bhungane are even prepared in terms of re-establishment of the Africans in diaspora who want to come back and be established on the continent. And I made a comment the other day, there's only one rule for anyone in diaspora. You left here without a passport.
Absolutely.
When you come back,
absolutely,
you come back without a passport.
Absolutely.
So that we can do the proper rituals and get you back into the land, give you a new name, and give you a new establishment. It only takes one generation.
Absolutely.
The children that are born after that will be aligned with the greater expanse of the United Kingdoms of Africa. Wow! Bayethe ngelenge. Hey, wangisanganisa namhlanje wangibetha ngapho ngibetha ngapho ngithi ngisazamkwenza ukuyidonsa iyangixaka lento namhlanje. Yeah.
You are in charge today of the spiritual aspect of the king.
I've just noticed I walked away from here with a much bigger responsibility than I had come to.
Forget about those buffoons, because you are now the Archbishop of the Church of the United Kingdoms of Africa. Now the United Kingdoms of Africa is not just an entity as people who are sitting somewhere. It is an internationally recognized, registered, sovereign body. We'll create our own systems, create our own church.
Our own religious systems.
Own religious system. And I'm challenging all the kings in the continent to realign themselves with the Creator. Realign themselves with this church that is linked to God, but not to criminals, but not to Lucifer.
I think in the last few remarks that we have, I think we've taken quite a huge journey in terms of looking at the greater. I wonder, in your perception, there are a few kings that come into my mind immediately. King Leopold, and the King and the Queen of London, Queen of Britain herself, and the amount of atrocities that they've caused on the African continent. Is there any conversation in terms of bringing these kings to account, in terms of maybe making them accountable for the destruction that they have caused? And if so, what kind of action plan are you planning to have to bring them to book?
Remember, we are talking about United Kingdoms of Africa, where sovereignty will prevail. Under the judicial system, will make sure that Belgium pays for all the atrocities of Congo. And other regions also in the continent, including.
We have massacres in Namibia.
Absolutely. All of them.
In Zimbabwe.
We will call,
a trail of blood.
Yeah, we will call them, and let me tell you, we will make sure wherever we prevail, as they did last time with the president of Sudan, to say wherever he goes, he must be arrested by the ICC. We will create our own ICC. And we make sure that they will repay anybody who's connected with that system. They must pay for their forefathers' sins.
Wow. Wow. I think the Church of Rome better get ready, because we're collecting the tithe.
We will go and get everything that was stolen from our people, including the similar systems that were put onto those churches, because they stole our systems of governance in terms of the church. We'll go and take it back, because it does not belong to them. People who came up with the concepts were killed by that Council of Nicaea. We have to restore our dignity as the people of this continent. Everything that it is now being said, it is under UNESCO. It must be under a body that is under United Kingdom.
World Health Organization.
All of it. And in this journey, we don't want people who are afraid.
It's a battlefront.
It's a battlefront to restore our dignity and to reclaim our birthright.
They are declaring war on the British King, on the British monarch.
Not exactly only that, but we are declaring war to every criminal who has stolen, who has destroyed our culture and traditions. It is a war against them. The war in what manner? In reclaiming what belongs to us. We'll do it peacefully and engaging with them, with our people. But our people will stand up and say, I have no connection with you. Because today, when Princess Diana died last time, every black person was crying tears. When this young boy was getting married, every black person was saying, our prince is getting married. Meanwhile, they do not even recognize their own people who are of royalty in the continent. And we want to open a case against the treasury that they stole all our minerals around all those colonial
and the diamond that is on the crown of the queen is from Cullinan.
Yeah, we're going
right
to get
here.
it. Absolutely.
We need to go and get that diamond.
Absolutely.
No, it is that diamond and strip
it's true.
of parading stolen goods.
According to the international law, they have stolen a lot from us.
Much more than we're going to.
Absolutely.
And our present governments actually.
And they've stolen our pride. Imagine we are walking naked in the streets, and they don't care.
Ladies and gentlemen, with me today has been King Bhungane. Your final parting shot to the audience out there about UKA and the restoration of the African kingdom. When should we be expecting these changes to happen?
From next year, we are engaging publicly. But what I'm humbling myself to the people of the continent. I'm asking for unity. Let's unite as the people of the continent, including the diaspora. Let us reclaim our birthright. Let us reclaim what belongs to us. Let us reclaim what the Creator has given us. Let's make sure that our pride is restored. Let's make sure that when we walk in the streets of London, in the streets of the colonialist, anywhere, they must know that you are the first creation. You are the first creation that God, when he, with his counsel, thought of making a human being, you were the first person to be considered. So unity, unity, unity. And I'm appealing to all the people of the continent, and including the diaspora, to embrace United Kingdom of Africa, including those kings that were placed by the murderers, to say, maybe God will have mercy on you if you form part of the United Kingdoms of Africa.
Wow. Bayet Tingelenge.
Bayet.
Thank you very much, King Bhungane, for spending some time with us. It's always a pleasure.
Bye.
It's always an honor. For me, these are what I call royalty master classes, where we are learning how to govern, how to think, and how to package and align the present generations with the ancient knowledge systems and come up with a new narrative. And it has been a great honor to having the king in our studio today. And we'll have him again. We skip 1 week, then another week, we skip one, and we'll have him back again in studio. From me, your host, Maponga J, Chigaramba Ugarama Shamba Uda Chirana Vanchi. Tiswana Chigarama Uhi Matanda Novora Chibukiteza, Chinoteza, Kurva Pedua, Tambana Chim, Tambo, Parwari, Van Pimberna Machira Machen. We're a media association of Baxes Rampona Kubuane Mashakumagara. Until we see you again, stay away from trouble. Don't do what I wouldn't do. If you decide to do it better.